Procedure for materials received in pharmaceutical inspection. Upon the arrival of materials, the receiving personnel should visually inspect the shipment for any signs of damage or tampering. They should ensure that the packaging is intact and matches the accompanying documentation. Documentation verification. The receiving personnel should verify the accompanying documentation, such as the purchase order, packing list, and delivery note, against the actual received materials. They should ensure that the quantities, item descriptions, and batch lot numbers match. Sampling. Depending on the requirements, a representative sample of the received materials may need to be taken for further testing or analysis. The sampling should be performed following the approved procedures and documented appropriately. Physical count. The receiving personnel should physically count the received materials to ensure that the quantities match the documented values. Any discrepancies should be investigated and reported to the appropriate personnel, such as the warehouse manager or quality control department. Labeling and identification. The received materials should be properly labeled and identified with relevant information, including the name of the material, batch lot number, expiration date, and any special storage conditions, if applicable. The labeling should comply with regulatory requirements and company policies. Storage and quarantine. The received materials should be stored in designated areas, such as the warehouse or quarantine area, based on their status. Quarantine should be applied to materials that require further testing or evaluation before they can be released for use. Documentation and record keeping. All receiving activities, including inspection results, documentation verification, sampling, physical count, and any discrepancies or observations, should be recorded accurately. The documentation should be maintained as part of the batch record or in a designated receiving log. Communication. Any significant issues or discrepancies identified during the receiving process should be communicated promptly to the relevant stakeholders, such as the quality control department, procurement team, or supplier, as necessary. Effective communication ensures timely resolution of any concerns or deviations. Quality assurance checks. The quality control or quality assurance personnel may conduct additional checks, such as visual inspection, identity testing, or verification of supplier certificates of analysis, to ensure the received materials meet the required quality standards. Release or rejection. Based on the inspection, testing, and verification results, the quality control department should decide whether to release the materials for use in manufacturing or to reject them. Rejected materials should be appropriately segregated, documented, and returned to the supplier or disposed of following approved procedures. Note: the specific procedures and requirements may vary depending on the company's standard operating procedures, regulatory guidelines, and the nature of the pharmaceutical materials being received. It's essential to follow the applicable guidelines and maintain compliance throughout the receiving process.